Okay, honestly, what the hell happened? That's what and I think many other Miami Heat fans were thinking last night as they watched the Heat fall to the Magic in the quarterfinal round of the NBA Cup, them losing to the Magic 117 to 108. We're going to dive into the game recap here I got for you and more in today's episode of your Heat Latest here on FanArc. Thank you again so much for joining us. I'm Sam Shapiro. Don't forget to drop a like on this video, and if you haven't already, click that subscribe button. We've got great daily content all pertaining to your Miami Heat right here Monday through Friday. And this was such a frustrating loss as a Miami Heat fan to watch for the 305 as they fell in the quarterfinal round of the NBA Cup last night to the Orlando Magic, 117 to 108. It was really just frustrating because Miami came out into this game playing really strong basketball, scoring 13 unanswered points in the first not even 3 minutes of the game, going 7 of 7 ultimately on their first 7 shots, going on an 18-2 run, and then pretty much after the first quarter collapsing through the rest of the game. And while Miami shot from the field relatively well throughout this contest, they just gave up a certain plethora of points here and there. They gave up scores in pockets, at least to Orlando, and that was why they had really struggled, I think, being able to come back into this game, unfortunately. But the real kicker was, as I had mentioned, they ran out of steam early. Miami had a great first quarter, and they're no stranger to that. They're leading the league in first quarter points right now with 32.5 points per game in the first quarter. Leads the NBA right now. They scored 30 points in this quarter. Granted, they kind of slowed down a little bit towards the end of the first quarter, but they continued to just slow down throughout the rest of this game, scoring one less point in every other following quarter. And while it looked like 27, 26, 25 respectively, I mean, because of that, they weren't able to really find themselves throughout this game. It looked like they weren't playing with any heart. They weren't playing with any passion. Don't get me wrong. If you look at the box score, it'll look like a little bit of a different game. You have 4 players scoring right around 20 points, if not 20 or above, in Hero, Powell, Wiggins, and of course, Adebayo, who had 19 and 8 on the night, 7 of 14 shooting. But ultimately, because there were players from the Magic, aside from Desmond Bane, contributing, especially from beyond the arc, that was why them scoring 3 or 4 possessions in a row ultimately led to the collapse of Miami in this game. I mean, they had at least a double-digit lead going into the second, 13-point lead going into the second quarter, and you kind of just watched Orlando slowly chip away at it throughout the course of this game. By halftime, it was a 1-point lead, 57-56, Miami up. But then in the third quarter, Desmond Bane absolutely took over. And I'm going to get into his performance a little bit more later in this episode, but I think the big kicker for Miami in this game really was their ability to not shoot the outside ball very well. I'm going to get into that a little bit more in a minute, but Miami also, in points of this game, played pretty solid defense. They got the Magic to cough up 16 turnovers throughout this game, but they couldn't contest shots overall very well, let alone from beyond the arc themselves. And because of just the depth of this Magic team and their ability to score from the outside, that ultimately was a big Achilles heel for Miami. Jalen Suggs, 20 points on 7 of 13 shooting. He had 3 3-pointers. Banchero, 18 points, 5 of 13 shooting. Not a great shooting night. Adebayo played solid defense on him again, but 2 of 5 from 3. Wendell Carter Jr. also had 2 3-pointers in this game. He had 14 points to go along with 10 rebounds. And then guys like Tristan da Silva coming off the bench, bringing in 2 threes of his own on an 11-point performance, helped Orlando chip away at this early lead. Miami did such a good job coming out and getting early, and they just completely destroyed all the momentum Miami had in the first 5 minutes of this game. I mean, as a Heat fan, this was such a disheartening thing to watch. It was honestly really difficult. I was crawling watching this game. The kicker for me, though, why I believe Miami lost this game, they couldn't get the 3-point ball to fall in the basket. It was just so irritating. Shooting under 25% from 3 as a team, 8 of 33 from beyond the arc, and Miami's 2 main maestros in getting that scoring at least to get going throughout these games, Tyler Hero and Norman Powell, both didn't contribute in that regard, both having abysmal shooting nights from beyond the arc. Norman Powell 4 of 12 and Tyler Hero 0 for 6. The guy needed one more three-pointer to have 1,000 career threes, and he couldn't get one to fall in this game. I don't think that made the difference as to why Miami necessarily wasn't able to get going, but the three-point ball for Miami, considering these two players contributed to half of the outside game that Miami was able to at least get going in this game, get those shots to fall, it's unacceptable. It's absolutely unacceptable. And while, Mitchell here, the starting five, Mitchell, Hero, Powell, Wiggins, and Bam had pretty solid games, the bench was pretty much irrelevant for Miami in this game. Hawkes Jr. struggled from the field, 5 of 12, to go along with Kel'el Ware, who, quite honestly, was a non-factor pretty much in this game. Took one shot, 4 points. Payla Larson went down early with what looked like a really nasty ankle sprain. So we'll have to wait and see how that kind of develops a little bit more. Fontecchio didn't even get in the score column for Miami. So that on top of Powell and Hero not being able to get the tray ball to fall was just a disappointment, to say the least. And I didn't really like a lot of the shots that Powell and Powell and Hero decided to really take in this game either, because they were kind of wild shots. I mean, there were at least 2 3-pointers. Tyler was shooting a really deep three, and I just was not confident was going in. I don't think he's shot the ball fairly well from three-point land since he's returned this season. Norman Powell, on the contrary, has, shooting around, I believe, 46% from the field this season. And so, or at least somewhere in that ballpark. But I mean, he looked rattled and pretty uncomfortable with some of the three-point shots he had taken, similarly to what we saw from Adebayo on Friday with time winding down on that last possession. And hats off to the Magic. They definitely played some pretty solid defense, contesting a lot of good looks for Miami. Miami ultimately shot 45% from this field. They didn't shoot overall terribly. Just from beyond the arc, it was one of their worst outside shooting performances, if not, I would argue, their worst shooting performance so far this regular season. So kind of unfortunate to kind of see that all transpire. But the worst part of last night had to be the performance put on by Desmond Bane. 37 points from Desmond Bane? Are you kidding me? Seriously. After what you held him to on Friday, it's unacceptable. It's absolutely unacceptable. 37 points on 14 of 24 shooting, 6 of 9 from 3, absolutely heating up in the third quarter when Miami had the potential to maybe grab the momentum back and not let the Magic crawl their way back into this game. But you make plans and the universe laughs, and especially with Wagner out of the lineup, I mean, obviously he's going to get more opportunities to have the ball in his hand, but when you compare the game that Bane had on Friday, 5 points, 2 of 16 shooting, 1 of 8 from 3, comparison to 37, 14 of 24, 6 of 9 from 3. Like, are you kidding me? Not good. Not good. And definitely with some of the shots Bane took, he looked a little bit more comfortable in how he was positioning himself in terms of his overall shot selection in last night's matchup for Miami. Definitely utilizing, I feel like, the pump fake on a lot of impactful buckets he was able to make from especially beyond the arc, because Miami was biting on those pump fakes. He looked very, unfortunately, hard to guard in this game. And I don't know if he went back and watched some film extensively on what didn't work for him in Friday night's matchup, but he definitely took some notes, and it contributed heavily, I would believe, to him having an ultimate clinic in last night's matchup against Miami when the game actually mattered, and now Miami is not going to Vegas. I would say mainly because of it. So hats off to the Magic for playing some pretty solid defense, especially in terms of guarding Miami's outside shooting abilities, and for Desmond Bane for really just having a clinic type of scoring night. And shame on Miami for not, really at least capitalizing on taking better shot selections from the outside, because this team, again, thrives from inside the arc, thrives in playing transition ball. But I also think if Tyler Hero dribbled around a little bit less, I feel like he had the ball in his hands a bit too much. And I think that also kind of hindered Miami's ability to play fast-paced, high-level transition basketball that we saw. And it ultimately bit them in the butt on the defensive end too, just because a lot of the open looks, as I just rattled off some guys on the Magic that had at least 1-3 or more, multiple guys in the lineup were contributing from beyond the arc for the Orlando Magic in this game. And that was just, quite honestly, a rather unfortunate thing to kind of see. It just really was. And considering this Magic team shot 50% from the field, roughly 47% from three, I think that was the biggest difference maker in this game, just because of the turnovers Miami was able to force. Obviously, losing the rebound battle as well from quite a bit, 47-39, didn't help either. But I think those two major factors contributed into why Miami is not going to Vegas. But they've got some time now to rest before next Thursday's matchup against the Nets. So hopefully they can shake off some of that rust from beyond the arc and utilize some of this time off to bounce back and get off this 4-game skid that they're on right now. But that's going to do it for today's episode of Your Heat Latest here on FanArc. Don't forget to drop a like on this video, and if you haven't already, click that subscribe button. We've got great daily content, all pertaining to Your Heat Latest right here, Monday through Friday. Thanks again so much for joining us this Wednesday. I'm Sam Shapiro. Have a good day.